Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving deep into, well, the really intricate, often high-stakes world of anti-money laundering and anti-fraud software procurement.
Mm-hmm.
For financial institutions, I mean, getting this right isn't just important, it's existential, really.
Absolutely.
But what happens when the guidance you get is, uh, let's just say, less than stellar? We've actually got a truly surprising and honestly quite concerning story from our source material today.
Oh,
Yeah, a firsthand account of a critical software evaluation project that, well, it reveals some pretty alarming practices.
okay. I'm intrigued.
So our mission for this deep dive is pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to equip you with the insights to, cut through the noise and spot genuine expertise when you're making these huge decisions.
Right.
Ever felt overwhelmed by those really flashy presentations? The kind that leave you with more questions than answers?
I think we've all been there.
Then this deep dive is definitely for you.
It's true. The stakes in AML compliance, they just couldn't be higher.
Hmm.
We're talking about preventing serious financial crime, protecting institutions from massive risk,
Yeah.
and avoiding potentially huge regulatory fines. That initial anecdote you mentioned, it sounds like it perfectly illustrates a really common pitfall in the consulting world.
How so?
Well, where superficial showmanship, the flashiness, can unfortunately mask a critical lack of true practical expertise, the good consultant versus bad consultant scenario.
Gotcha.
So today, we're going to peel back the layers, show you the red flags you really need to watch out for, and crucially, what real substance looks like in this field, because it's highly specialized and, frankly, evolving incredibly fast.
So what's particularly striking from this account is this.
Mm-hmm.
This shocking encounter the author describes. He's an expert himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was brought in to collaborate with a big management consulting firm on an AML software evaluation. And what happened next was, well, basically a masterclass in what not to do. A presentation long on flash, super glossy, but incredibly short on any genuine insight.
Ah, those flashy visuals. They're such a classic misdirection tactic, aren't they?
Seems like it.
The real problem, and we see this a lot, is they distract from the fact that there's no real evidence-based methodology underneath.
Right.
The account mentioned colorful geomaps, glossy charts, stuff seemingly designed purely to impress.
Yeah, exactly.
But, experience shows when consultants get fixated on the superficial, they create this illusion of insight, but there's very little actual analysis going on. It's all about looking good, not being good.
I can definitely see why that's a huge problem. But let me play devil's advocate for just a second.
Go ahead.
Isn't there maybe an argument that for an initial screening, perhaps, a simple yes-no on a future like AI might be seen as, I don't know, efficient?
Yeah.
Especially if you're just trying to quickly narrow down a huge list of vendors.
That's a fair question, and I see why people might think that. It speaks to a dangerous temptation, though. But the immediate issue the expert noted was this absolute checkbox approach to really complex features, particularly AI.
Right. That checkbox.
It's like, imagine buying a high-performance car, and the checklist just says, engine.
Yes.
You wouldn't do that, would you?
No way.
You'd asked about horsepower, fuel efficiency, safety features, all that stuff.
Of course.
Yet in this critical software evaluation, if a product just claimed it had any AI feature, it simply got a check mark. End of story.
Wow.
No discussion of how its models actually worked, how the data was handled, or if it even complied with modern model risk management standards, just a check mark.
That's astonishing. So they weren't even digging into the basic questions
Yeah.
like use cases or the algorithms underneath,
Yeah.
data policies, regulatory compliance stuff.
Precisely. Nothing. And this is where it gets particularly dangerous. Experts in this space, like Silent8, they emphasize that advanced AI capabilities aren't just some bonus buzzword. They demand really rigorous examination. You absolutely must ask, is the model transparent? Can it be explained? Is it free from hidden bias?
Crucial questions.
Does the vendor have robust controls and governance for the AI? Things like ongoing monitoring and validation. And maybe most importantly, is the AI configured to align with your organization's specific risk appetite?
Not just some generic setting.
Exactly. Simply noting AI, yes, tells you absolutely nothing about these vital things. And when you've got millions of dollars in software costs and, compliance effectiveness hanging in the balance, a checkbox approach is basically a ticking time bomb.
And this superficiality, it extended to their whole evaluation methodology too, didn't it?
Yeah.
The source talks about spreadsheets just filled with subjective scores for each vendor. Ratings assigned with no clear criteria, no concrete data behind them.
Exactly. And research on vendor evaluation consistently warns about this. Subjective ratings based purely on impressions. They're just poor practice.
Why is that?
Because they often reflect hidden bias, or maybe just a single past experience someone had, rather than a comprehensive, data-driven analysis. In a field this critical, a gut feel scorecard is absolutely no substitute for proper rigor.
Makes sense.
And speaking of rigor, or lack thereof, the lead consultant on this project apparently kept emphasizing his many years of management consulting experience.
The experience card.
Right. But the actual materials observed were, well, mediocre at best, according to the account. And this just underscores a crucial point. Generic experience doesn't automatically equal specialized depth.
Especially in technical fields.
Exactly. Particularly in highly technical fields like AML and fraud prevention. Years spent in general consulting mean very little if those years weren't spent actually solving the specific nuanced problems you're facing right now.
So it's really dangerous mix, isn't it? Heavy on form, super light on content. It makes you wonder, how many critical decisions out there are being made based on this kind of superficial review?
It's a fundamental issue, absolutely. And these red flags are dangerous, precisely because they can so easily mislead clients into making really poor decisions. We see this highlighted in various studies on contractor selection, too.
Right.
Subjective ratings and just ticking boxes for buzzwords don't just waste money, they fundamentally compromise your ability to build an effective compliance program. This whole scenario just underscores the critical importance of proven, practical expertise over generic experience in these specialized fields.
Okay, so given all those really glaring red flags, it just begs the question, doesn't it? If that's what not to do. What does a truly robust, meaningful assessment of AML or anti-fraud software actually look like? What should people be doing?
Indeed. It means shifting completely from that superficial glance to a really deep, nuanced analysis. It absolutely requires input from domain experts, from data specialists, people who genuinely understand the intricacies involved.
Our sources highlight several absolutely crucial areas that need examining when you evaluate these third-party AML anti-fraud tools. And first, maybe surprisingly, it isn't actually about the software's bells and whistles initially.
Oh, what is it then?
It's about doing a brutally honest internal audit of your own risk profile and your business objectives first.
Starting inward. Makes sense.
Because if you don't know exactly what problem you're trying to solve for your unique institution, even the most advanced tech in the world is going to miss the mark.
That's such a critical point. The best solution for one bank might be completely wrong for another if their products, their customer base, or their risk appetite are different.
Exactly.
So once you really know your own needs, then you move into what we call a functional and technical capability assessment.
Okay, what does that involve?
This means truly diving into how each piece of software actually works. You're scrutinizing its functionality, like, can it handle the specific regulatory scenarios you face? Does it have all the necessary modules, transaction monitoring, sanction screening, case management, whatever you need?
Got it.
Then you also need to assess its performance. Can it scale to your transaction volumes? Is it fast enough? And finally, the technology stack itself. How wide does it integrate with your existing systems? Is it cloud-ready or on-premise? What's the user interface like? Is it usable for your team?
So really kicking the tires.
Absolutely. Experts strongly recommend getting workflow demonstrations, doing data handling evaluations, and even running proof of concept trials, actually seeing the solution work with your own data.
And crucially, especially for today's advanced tools, there's the whole area of data quality and model validation, right?
Completely non-negotiable. Especially if you're looking at AI or machine learning tools, rigorous validation is essential. It's not nearly enough to know a tool has an AI model.
You need to check it works.
You have to validate that model on data that's relevant to you. Key questions are, was the model trained on data that actually represents your customer base? How does it handle false positives and false negatives? Does the vendor help you with model validation or tuning over time?
And regulators expect this now.
They absolutely do. Regulators expect robust model risk management. That means having systems to track things like model drift, where an AI's performance can degrade over time as real-world data changes.
Right, things change.
Plus, they expect periodic revalidation and clear documentation. As Silent 8 points out, you need explainability, auditability, and bias testing to truly back up any claims about AI effectiveness.
And that flows right into the next point, compliance and regulatory fit.
Directly. Your AML software must not only satisfy regulators, but actively support your institution's compliance program.
How do you assess that?
Well, a proper evaluation checks if a vendor can clearly demonstrate compliance with all the relevant regulations and guidance, whether that's FATF recommendations, regional laws like the EU's AML directives, or even emerging AI governance standards like the EU AI Act.
Okay.
An effective consultant will demand documentation of their compliance measures and even ask about their future roadmap for handling regulatory changes.
What's the risk if you don't?
An inattentive approach, maybe just trusting a vendor's glossy marketing brochure. Well, as regulatory enforcement cases from firms like the Bates Group have shown, that can lead to serious customer harm and really significant penalties down the line.
Okay, so that's crucial. And the final piece seems to be robust vendor due diligence, evaluating the company itself.
Yes, absolutely. This means looking beyond the product to the company behind it. A seasoned expert will examine the vendor's track record. Like how many other institutions actually use this software? What do their reference clients honestly say? Is the company financially stable? Are they likely to be around to support the product long term? What about their data security posture, their support capabilities?
You don't want them disappearing.
Exactly. The Bates Group shared an anecdote once about a bank that got stuck with huge ongoing costs because they chose a niche vendor. The vendor had too few clients to effectively spread the development costs for essential regulatory updates. Yeah. So asking simple questions like, how many institutions currently use your product, can reveal a lot and help you avoid those kinds of costly landmines.
That's a really powerful warning. It sounds like the difference between a shallow review and a deep one can literally mean the difference between failure and success.
It really can. Regulators have penalized firms, seriously penalized them, for relying on systems that were improperly vetted or implemented. That's why substance absolutely must trump style at every single step.
So instead of just AI, yes, no?
Instead of that, a good assessment includes detailed questions like, okay, how exactly does your platform leverage AI or ML to reduce false positives while maintaining detection accuracy? Can you provide documentation supporting the explainability of your models? And have you had them independently validated?
Right, demanding proof.
You need clear evaluation criteria and key performance indicators. KPIs, things like measurable reduction in manual workload, improved detection rates, total cost of ownership, not these one-size-fits-all subjective scores.
Makes sense.
And crucially, always verify vendor claims. Use demos, use proof of concept tests, do thorough reference checks, and please read the fine print for any hidden fees or surprises.
Okay, so let's shift gears slightly. If you're looking for help with these really complex, high-stakes decisions, how do you find the right advisor? Because many institutions do outsource vendor selection, right? They lack internal resources or maybe the specific expertise.
And that's perfectly sensible. Outsourcing can be smart if you bring in the right experts.
But here's the crucial warning we found. You can outsource the work, but you cannot outsource the risk or the responsibility.
That's the absolute truth.
If the chosen software fails, or if regulators find deficiencies down the road, it's your company that suffers the consequences, not the consultant who recommended it.
The buck stops with the institution.
So when you're hiring consultants, what are the key things to look for? The first one seems obvious, but maybe isn't always checked properly. Domain expertise and track record.
Yes. Critically important.
Look for proven practical experience in financial crime compliance, specifically with Aon anti-fraud technology projects, and real implementation insights. Those generic years in consulting mean little if they weren't spent solving the specific problems you actually face.
Absolutely. And today, AML compliance is just fundamentally technology-driven. So your consulting partner also needs to demonstrate real technological sophistication. Meaning they need to bridge that regulatory knowledge with genuine technical depth. Do they understand rules engines, machine learning algorithms, big data challenges, APIs, data migration complexities, system configuration nuances?
Not just high-level concepts.
No. If all they bring to the table are management generalists, that should be a serious red flag for you.
Okay. Next up, they need a deep understanding of regulatory and business context.
Essential. The consultant has to grasp the specific regulatory environment you operate in, whether it's FINRA and the OCC in the US or the FCA and EBA in Europe or wherever you are.
And how that affects software needs.
Exactly. And they also need to understand your specific business model. A retail bank has different needs than a fintech or an investment firm. Ask them about recent AML regulatory developments. A true expert will be able to discuss them readily and intelligently.
Good test. And then, crucially, you need to demand integrity and objectivity.
Hugely important. You absolutely want a vendor-agnostic advisor. Their only agenda should be finding the best possible fit for you, not pushing a preferred vendor or technology.
How do you ensure that?
Insist on complete transparency in their scoring methodology and clear, logical explanations for their recommendations. Our source material warns against consultants who hide behind buzzwords or get defensive when you scrutinize their process.
Yeah, that quote was telling. Bad consultants are wrong a lot, but rarely realize or admit it.
Whereas good consultants, they actually welcome scrutiny because they're confident in their substance and their methodology.
Okay, and finally, look for a collaborative approach and knowledge transfer.
Yes, this is about partnership. The ideal advisor works with your internal team, they involve your own subject matter experts, and they actively help build your internal capabilities and understanding along the way.
Not just deliver a report and walk away.
Exactly. If you see a consultant guarding their process like it's some kind of mysterious black box, or if they're dismissive of your team's input, they might be more interested in selling mystique than actually solving your problems. Humility, it turns out, is often a strong mark of genuine competence.
It's really striking, isn't it, how the due diligence you do on your consultants is just as critical as the due diligence on the software vendors themselves.
It really is. There's Gartner research out there suggesting that something like 65% of outsourcing failures are actually due to poor vendor selection.
Wow, that high.
Yeah.
So,
So if the person or firm helping you with that selection isn't truly up to par, your entire project is basically built on a shaky foundation right from the very start.
and the cost of getting it wrong.
Oh, it's enormous. Wasted money, significant project delays, compliance breakdowns, and ultimately, potentially crippling regulatory fines and reputational damage.
Mm.
Even from the collaborator's perspective, like the expert in our source story, independent experts learn quickly they have to vet who they partner with. Reputation is everything in this field.
Right.
Sometimes the only sensible choice is to walk away from a project being led by an unprofessional or incompetent team just to protect your own credibility.
Okay, let's try and bring this all together then. In an age where, financial crime threats are constantly evolving and technology is advancing at this incredible pace, companies simply cannot afford to base crucial compliance decisions on superficial analysis anymore.
They really can't.
You have to demand substance over height. The expertise or lack thereof of the people advising you will directly impact your success, for better or definitely for worse.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a client, demand explanations, demand the data. A true expert will be happy, even eager to provide them.
They should be.
And if you're hiring a consultant, do your reference checks thoroughly. Seek honest feedback from their past clients about the actual value they delivered, not just what they promised in the sales pitch.
Right.
Your company's compliance, its reputation, its long-term success. It all depends on cutting through the hype and choosing genuine expertise.
And this whole discussion, it raises an important final question for you to consider, I think. Our source clearly articulates how effective AML and anti-fraud compliance can literally save a company. Save it from fines, from enabling criminal activity, from devastating reputational damage.
Stakes are that high.
They are.
Yeah.
So in a world that's becoming increasingly reliant on complex systems, on AI, how do you continuously ensure that the experts you rely on, whether internal or external, are truly staying humble? That they're continuously updating their knowledge and skills rather than just resting on past experience and getting good at painting a pretty but perhaps misleading picture?
That's a really powerful thought to end on.
It's a question worth mulling over, I think, for any kind of critical advice you receive, not just in the complex world of financial crime compliance.